Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler. On this 5th day of June, we are 24 hours away from the NBA Finals. Got a great show with you for tonight. Got the Jeffrey Deskovic comes back tonight. He wants to talk a little bit of the playoffs, give his finals prediction. He said something about his thoughts on Bronny James possibly going to the Lakers. I'll ask him about the J.J. Redick situation, which looks like it's going to be announced after the finals. He'll be the head coach from all reports here. Going to ask him about that. 30 minutes past the hour. Tua's lost a lot of weight. He is in his contract year, showed up to these mini camps, probably 15 to 20 pounds lighter. I'll give you my thoughts on that, good, bad, or indifferent. And also CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb drafted the same year Justin Jefferson was. He's coming up. He's missed minicamp. Talk about that. Talk about the Cowboys situation as well and more. Stand by. Let's take our first and only break. And I'll be back here in 49 seconds, and we'll hit the ground running here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then. Okay. Cowboys. Yesterday I talked about Justin Jefferson and the amount of draft capital, if Minnesota chose to, could have gotten for him and build that. I mean, you can get 4 or 5 players there, or maybe picks there, maybe 2 really good players there instead of 1 really good player per se. Had Jordan Addison there, very good tight end. Similar situation, but not quite with CeeDee Lamb. You know, Lamb probably, I was the most impressed with CeeDee Lamb last year of any receiver in the NFL. I mean, he really tore it up. Jefferson, their years, but with 22, with Justin Jefferson, was like 1,800 and something yards. Last year with CeeDee Lamb here from Dallas, Lamb had 1,700 yards here. And I want to say 1,749, 135 catches, 12 touchdowns, just an absolute career year, breakout year, whatever you want to call it, although he did have 100 catches in 22 as well. Now, the only difference is he's got Brandon Cooks as the number 2 receiver. Cooks, big difference from Cooks, who will be, I want to say, let me get back to my main notes here. Cooks will be 31 in September. Okay. And of course, he's not on a rookie contract. He's going to command more money than a Jordan Addison per se with the Minnesota Vikings, who's 24 years old. Big difference there. Second-year player. for the Vikings there. Both of them, it's really a similar situation. Really good tight. Jake Ferguson, the tight end, still on his rookie deal as well. Breakout year there for Dallas. I will say this. They draft pretty well overall. They do a good job drafting well, but they're going to pay their guys. And more often than not, they're going to overpay their guys. They traditionally have. I was reading today just now, probably about an hour ago, this could be Zach Martin's last year, who's been paid really well. Now, Martin's probably a Hall of Famer. He's actually been properly compensated. Dak, love Dak, great guy, great character. He's about $10-12 million overpaid per se. Always has been. But there's no team discount there. He's in the last year of his contract. We're talking $60 million. That number's been thrown around for Dak Prescott as well. You've got Michael Parsons coming up. They without a doubt they're gonna pay Michael Parsons. Okay, but my thing is, when you got a guy like Lamb, you got a Brandon Cooks there. More often than not, probably want to pay him. But with that, the season he had last year per se, as an option. And of course, what I'm saying is what I would do, what we already know Jerry Jones is going to do. They're going to pay this guy $34 to $35 million. They're going to pay CeeDee Lamb. I think he could probably get extended before training camp. He's going to get a massive deal there. I just know it. But what they could do, call his bluff, let him play out. He's on his fifth-year option. This is not a situation here. Let me make sure that's correct here. Or maybe in his fourth year. No, that's Tua. I got to make sure to get my stuff here. Either way, call his bluff. Let him play out his he's coming into his fifth year. I was right there. Him and Tua both, actually. Let him play this thing out. Fifth year option. It's not peanuts. He's got to play at like week 6 or whatnot. Use him with your first round pick and move up per se, and get one of these young quarterbacks in 2025. Get a Carson Beck out of Georgia, who is likely to be the number 1 pick, or possibly Deion Sanders' son, Schroeder Sanders out of Colorado, or Quinn Ewers, okay? And not pay a Dak Prescott, and go ahead and replace him. You can use that leverage there, or trade Dak, but they're not going to be able to trade Dak, But you could go ahead and use that leverage, get those picks and move up, because you're probably not going to be picking high enough to pick one of these higher-end quarterbacks. The good thing about their situation, if I'm the general manager, I'm just saying if I'm the general manager per se, a lot of quarterbacks were taken this past year early in the draft. Who's going to really need a quarterback next year? Who's really going? Maybe Tennessee, if things don't work out. Maybe the Raiders, of course. Probably the Raiders. Ain't no Connell per se, but I don't think the others. Possibly the Steelers if they let go of Mike Tomlin. All right. The Jets, possibly, if Rodgers gets hurt again and decides to retire. But are they going to be aggressive and go up early like that? I don't know. I think that would be a real possibility for the Cowboys. Not going to happen. What's going to happen is they're going to pay him. They're going to have a good excuse to pay him, because Brandon Cooks, you don't know if he's going to be there next year or not. He's going to play this year. They'll probably put the money off. The cap hits kind of like what Jeremy Ballrick did, was talking about yesterday when he was on my program, commenting here. And I go over these contracts all the time where the first 2 years, not a big cap hit to the team. Then you have those big balloon payments in year 3 or 4 or whatnot. Probably work out some type of deal like that where they can get a Dak re-signed and they can get a Micah Parsons. And as usual, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting a different result. They're not going to have any depth. They don't never have depth. Luckily they did have a really good defensive coordinator. I like their coordinator this year here as well. His name slips my mind, but it was a former head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, former Bengals defensive coordinator. Very good coordinator. May be better in some spots than Dan Quinn. But as much as I like a guy like Dak, he's not worth $60 million, But now you got these receivers so high. You've got guys like, and I respect the heck out of this guy. Louis Riddick out of ESPN. He's got a managerial background, former player here. Listen to what he says about wide receivers in 2024 in the NFL.
Right away. When you look at all these guys waiting to get paid, where do you have CeeDee Lamb as a priority?
This was on ESPN's NFL.
He's right near the very top. I mean, obviously, quarterback always trumps all as far as trying to get that position squared away. But look, there's a reason why wide receiver has become basically the second most valuable position on an NFL roster. And just look at it. Just go look at the college game. And I've talked to many coaches who have talked about this, the fact that wide receiver has really surpassed pass rusher in terms of importance to an overall roster.
I mean, I just do not agree with that. Mike Zimmer, Pickles. Yeah, that's exactly. They did upgrade there and some spots there. But so he's saying that wide receivers are making $34 and $35 million a year. I still want my pass rusher, but that's just me.
For two reasons. One, because of the role that he plays in the development, in the production, in the efficiency of the quarterback, which is the most important guy on the football field. And two, a secondary benefit that really, quite honestly, it makes sense from a business perspective. You want to attract more players, score points. How do you score points quickly in the NFL and in college? You throw the football and you produce explosive plays. How do you get more fans in the seats? How do you get more fans buying season tickets? Score points. Have an explosive offense. Who does that for you? Wide receivers do it for you. And then really just look at, Kevin, look at all the players right now who are making $30 million and above on an average basis, on an average per year basis. There's 2 defensive pass rushers. There's Chris Jones and there's Nick Bosa. And then there's 4 wide receivers in that 30 million plus per range already. And there's going to be another one now with CD. The NFL has already spoken. It's all about wide receivers and quarterbacks. And look, I hate to say it because, I'm all about the pass rushers. I'm all about defensive linemen. I'm all about protecting the quarterback. But this is the way the game is right now. So right now, CD's about to cash in. It may not be right now. It may be in a couple of days.
He's right. It's going to happen, but probably before the season starts, CeeDee Lamb's going to get a lot of money. I say when the league goes one way, you go the other. I'm about to talk about Tua here in just a second. Pickle says Dolphins Tua it goes down. Yeah, and so that's essentially with the Cowboys situation. That's until something happens. Hate to be morbid, but I have to be blunt. When he dies, Jerry Jones, then they'll probably win a Super Bowl. But the fact that they drafted him, and it was probably his idea, they needed a defensive player at the time when they did draft him in 20. But they didn't. They took CeeDee Lamb. Turned out to be a great player. Don't get me wrong. Love Lamb. Love Jefferson. But the teams that move off of big-name wide receivers and big money wide receivers seem to be the ones getting deep in the playoffs. Okay. But I also understand these 2 players are coming into their second contract. They're definitely in their prime. I get that. I get that, but my thing is, if you really know that you cannot get any farther with this team than this team is maxed out. This is maxed. You need to move off quarterback. When you want to keep him and sign him, and then use something else to move up next year's draft to get a quarterback. I said they should have did it this year and get a quarterback. Looks to be a very good quarterback class this year, but we're going to find out come September once that actually happens, per se. But that's the Cowboys, you know. That's what they do. You know, they overplayed Zeke Elliott. I said they shouldn't do that. Of course, they did that, and they regretted it. Had to cut him. Now they brought him back for peanuts to fill in now as a short yardage guy. But anywho, all right. Same year, same situation, fifth-year option, Tua, okay? A lot of talk about his weight loss. He's lost a good 15 to 20 pounds once you see him. Now, mind you, folks, you know, he's making $23 million here. His numbers look great last year. He did play all 17 games. But, you know, I screenshotted their schedule here. And I'll tell you, they beat up on some people. You know, I thought the Charger win was a big win. And then we found out it wasn't a big win. The team totally quit on Brandon Staley. Okay. And then they beat up on Denver, put 70 points on Denver. And then we found out that Denver could not get things really squared away with Russell Wilson and his contract and Sean Payton. Okay. They beat up, they put 42 on Carolina, 31 on the Giants. They beat up on a banged up Jets team without Aaron Rodgers. They were destroyed by Baltimore. They lost to Buffalo at the very end of the season, and their biggest win to a formidable playoff opponent was at home win over Dallas 22-20. Okay, you know. Got that Mike Tyson quality. Beat up on the bad teams, not so much on the good teams per se. And listen, I like Tua. I mean, very high completion percentage and everything. Remember in 22, coming off those horrific concussions, possibility saying that this guy may have to retire. I mean, you're hearing a lot of wild rumors and possible speculations for maybe he's going to get too injured here. He's too small. He was injured in college and all that good stuff. And all that's true. I do like what the team did last year. He got rid of the ball quickly. But as we saw in the Kansas City playoff game where they only scored 7 points, being a warm weather team coming from Miami, one of the coldest games probably in Kansas City history there, that he can't get away from the pass rush, and he doesn't really have a strong arm, okay? And you said, well, the extra weight's going to help him absorb the hits. Well, that's the big problem with Tua in a close game, you know. I was watching Tyron Smith today. He looks like he's lost 15, 20 pounds. That's the or is it? Yeah, Tyron Smith. Yeah, or Tyler Smith, whatever. No, it is Tyron. Tyler Smith's the guy they kept from Dallas, former left tackle. He's a lot lighter on his feet. He looks to be in great shape there with the Jets, okay? Jets have made a lot of tremendous upgrades. Buffalo's probably still the class of this division. Remember, they lost Christian Watkins. They've lost secondary players here. They re-signed Jalen Waddle. They're becoming more and more the image of their coach here. The 33rd team put out a list of the fastest players in the NFL, and obviously the Dolphins had the most players on there. They kind of remind me of the Florida Gators. Very good early in the season, fast, catch you off guard, very tough to beat down there in the swamp. In September, not very tough for Tennessee to get a win down there early in the season, or anybody for that matter. Remember last year when they beat Utah down there? They went back up to Utah the year after that. Same time of year. That's kind of like the Dolphins, But the thing is, not a very physical defense. They moved off their defensive coordinator. Wilkins is now with the Raiders here. They've extended, and they owe Tyreek Hill a ton of money the next 2 years. Now, he's producing, but why would you give Waddle that 2-year extension? Okay? Why would you do that? They just got that lopsided balance, and now they're going to probably extend Tua, my guess would be. But as far as him losing this weight, it's worth the gamble. He's going to have to be able to get away and get some plays down the field because that's what he has to deal with in these tighter games against a Buffalo, which they did keep. It was a 7-point game at the very end. They could have beat Buffalo, but they struggle in cold weather. They struggle on the road. I do not think they have it in them to make another move at quarterback, and not unless they're forced to. But they're very hesitant on Tua because of his injury history and, of course, because of his lack of athleticism and arm strength. I think that really is something. But, yeah, okay, here it is. 33rd team. Very interesting website. The top 25 fastest players. Number 1, Xavier Worthy, this guy from Kansas City. He just got drafted, rookie out of Texas. We don't know how well he's going to be able to take a hit in the NFL, but that remains to be seen. And number 2 was Tyreek Hill. Number 3 was DK Metcalf. Number 4, according to this website, Devon Achane. What's he, a third-year running back, I want to say? Or maybe his second year. Either way, that's the Texas A&M speedster there. That's also a Miami Dolphin. Then you go to number 8 is Raheem Mostert, and number 11 is Jalen Waddle. This is an entire NFL. The entire NFL. You got 4 players out of the Miami Dolphins here, more than any other team. They're a bunch of track stars. I remember, might have been Colin Coward, might have been somebody else. He says they're like that sports car. They're great when the weather's good. Man, they're fast. They just speed right down the highway. But when the weather changes, you don't want to be taking no Corvette or especially a Mustang when there may be a little bit of snow and ice outside, right? That's this team right here. They lack some physicality. And I would have tried to keep my defensive tackle rather than sign a Waddle. Here, who's going to take on Tyreek Hill's contract? Maybe another quarterback there on a rookie contract, perhaps. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know what the Dolphins are thinking here, per se. But a lot of this is, I do like their scheme, okay? Like what the head coach's scheme is, but I'm just not sure. I don't even think the Dolphins are going to make the playoffs this year. I really don't. I think that as of now, if you think about this Dolphins team, I do think the Jets are going to be that much better, and we know Buffalo's still going to be the class of that division. That's just the division alone. Forget about that gauntlet that's in the AFC North there. The South is much better. Look how good Houston's going to be. Jacksonville is going to bounce back. Here in Tennessee is going to be. Tennessee beat them last year, okay? And then, of course, you got the Chargers have upgraded. And, of course, the Chiefs are the favorites again to win it all, which I'm not sure if that's going to be towards the end there. But there were some rumors, and there were just rumors, folks, that maybe that that they were going to draft Michael Penix there out of Washington if he would have been available, and just take a chance on him and McDaniel's offense, put him in there, start the clock back over, and then you can go ahead and because look, Tua's want $55 million a year. You know, Pickle says speed kills. I mean, I like the speed, but at some point you got to make it happen when the games are bigger, when the games matter more. That's their step. Now they're a playoff team. They've been a playoff team the last 2 years. They've got 2 L's in the playoffs, running into the Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs. That's not good. I think they'll catch some L's against this Jets team with the healthy Aaron Rodgers. Also, Jets have upgraded their defense. They got a lot of talent there, okay, and their offensive line tremendously, you know. But I think they take a step back here, and it's going to be a tough decision with ownership and Chris Greer, their general manager. Do you really want to give this guy $50 million if they miss the playoffs this year? Because at this point, they would have to catch breaks to make the playoffs, in my opinion. They would have to catch breaks. You know, if you, like you said, if you looked at them when they beat up on Denver last year, 70 points. Start fast, end slow. When you look at it towards the end of the season, well, they stumbled in the playoffs there and missed the division, went on the road and got smoked. Was it 35-7 at Kansas City? You know, so they're at that crossroads here. What do you want to do? Do you just want to be good and sell tickets? Or do you want to take a chance? If you could take a chance and get a player with a stronger arm that you think that McDaniel could fit in his system, maybe they should do that. You know, let him play out. They can still. And my thing is, if they do that, per se, there's still a chance they could just franchise Tua. I think they'll probably sign him. But if they don't make the playoffs, if they let this go to the season in September and let him play on that fifth-year option, which is, I'm Tua, I'm grateful, considering what happened 2 years ago, that I'm sure this team was considering moving on from me. I play on that fifth-year option and bet on myself, per se. I'm not going to hold out. I'm not, especially with these players and this scheme around me. Now that we know Waddle's not going to hold out, Waddle's who's got a hamstring problem every week. He only missed 2 games last year, but it seemed like he was hurt every single week for some reason. A lot of these speedsters are like that. So anyways, I'm waiting now for my guy, Jeffrey Deskovic, who will be coming up here in just about 2 minutes or so. Let me make sure that he didn't send me any emails of any emails saying that he was running behind. Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez will be on tomorrow, Friday. I've got to do an event with my car here. I've got this wrap put on. You know, I'm a medical carrier, and I've got to drive around Pickles to the CMA Fest, okay, and advertise this company. The Chamber of Commerce's Annapolis guy stopped me at a gas station today, and he was like, "Hey man, you from Indianapolis?" And I said, "No, man, I'm just doing this for a promotional campaign here, so I can build more money to advertise my program." And speaking of the great Jeffrey Deskovic here, there he is, on time as always. How you doing, man?
I'm great, Rob. How you doing?
Good. You sound great. You look great. Hey, I've got my questions wrote down. I'll get to everything. If I don't, just remind me at the end. We'll try to get it all in here. I do want to ask you, let's go back to that Minnesota series. What happened
Yes.
to Minnesota and Dallas, man?
Yeah, that was it just like it was two. It was like it was two different teams. There was the Minnesota team that went on the road in Denver, won Game 7 in Denver in a convincing fashion. I mean, that wasn't a last-second bucket or like a one-point game. I mean, that was just in convincing fashion. I mean, I was thoroughly convinced that the Timberwolves were the better team, and then turn around and play like that against Dallas. I don't think, if you look at it by the numbers in that last game, I mean, Karl Anthony Towns and also Anthony Edwards, I mean, they both scored 28. All right. The problem, the problem is that was good for like 56 points, and Kyrie and Luka, who was like 72. So I mean, I feel like that was the difference. But of course, the other issue though is that a lot of their points, a lot of Edwards' points and Towns' points came after they closed the quarter on that 14-1 run. It came after the game was far ahead. I mean, to a large extent, though not totally, they were what was referred to as garbage time points. You remember Orlando Woolridge being the king of that. If you remember, he would score like 14 a game. 10 of them after the damn game was decided already. But I think that was it, and I think that I almost feel like the stage was too big for them.
Wow.
I think
it did look like. Do you think maybe they simply ran out of gas? It seemed like it took a lot out of them to beat Denver.
Yeah, it definitely took a lot. It definitely took a lot out of them to beat Denver. I mean, I do give some credence to the idea that they ran out of gas. I mean, they were physically tired. Edwards. The commentators noted that Edwards was having a hard time getting up and down the court. So I think that they did. But I mean, that kind of tells me that going forward in terms of roster moves, that the Wolves need to get a better bench. You can't. Okay. You can't play those guys that much, and then if that's going to be the impact on it, then you have to get some people that can come in and can maintain a lead, can get you some points, But that's the same kind of thing that if injuries didn't happen, I mean that's the type of thing that could have happened to the Knicks as well. I mean, playing everybody damn near every game, everything but 1 or 2 minutes. That was a disappointment. I was hoping the Mavericks would win, but I certainly wanted a much more competitive series than that.
Yeah, it was really a letdown, that last series. And of course, you had injuries with Indianapolis, and of course, the Pacers there, and of course, the Knicks just fell apart too. I mean, leading into that series.
Yeah.
The wheels just came off, man.
I mean. See, I guess we'll hold that off till we get to the finals.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Celtics' journey there. But another disappointment, though, even Denver. I mean, that was a really weird series. I mean, the Wolves won three out of 4 games in Denver, and yet it was a.
Does that hold Denver all off season, Jeffrey, blowing a 25-point or 20-something point lead like that?
Yeah, right. Exactly. That was insane. But then again, that's almost like like the Indiana Pacers giving away Game 1. There's no way they should have lost Game 1 against the Celtics, given how the game went. I mean, you're up by 5.
Yes.
Come on, you can't inbound the ball. You don't know to call timeout. Tyrese, dribbling down the sidelines and stepping out of bounds, and then there was another turnover besides that. I mean, I mean, like you suddenly, where's your basketball IQ all of a sudden?
Yeah. Do you think maybe Boston may have too light a road, considering the fact that they've had run into teams with so many injuries? Do you think they'll be battle tested for the finals?
I do not.
I don't either.
I agree with you completely. I mean, look, they beat the Jimmy Butler less Heat.
Yeah.
Some of those games were very, very competitive. Like 2 out of the 4, I think, were competitive. they beat Cleveland without Donovan Mitchell, and then
no Jared Allen the whole series.
Yeah, and then Tyrese Halliburton. They beat Halliburton less Pacers, other than the game one. I think when he played out of his mind, he played good.
Yeah.
I do feel that that it was, but the caveat though, but I think that's going to show up mainly without their core, mainly not in their core players. Like I think as a team they haven't been tested, but individually, White's been tested.
Yes.
They were in the finals team that lost to the Warriors. They lost Game 7 versus the Miami Heat. Tatum and Brown, same thing. Conference finals, experience. J. Rule Holiday, won a title with the Bucks, but not with the Celtics. So that's some experience, but also not with the Celtics. So but everybody else, I mean, Cornette, certainly, Porzingis, and the no name role players on the Celtics.
They do got a lot of guys. I'm like, who is this guy again?
Yeah. So I mean, I think they're not tested this year. They're tested overall, but that's only as to like four players, not as to everybody else. And I do think that will have an impact. I mean, maybe not a total impact as if the whole team was inexperienced, but certainly to some extent.
Okay, now Porzingis today, reports are he says, I'm going to play. The team he's got back from this calf. You know how those calves can be. They can be re-aggravated. How many minutes does he get, Jeffrey? Being out 3 or 4 weeks like this, going right into the finals, this is going to be a competitive finals.
Oh, this is going to be an ultra competitive finals. I'll get to my prediction later, but on the issue of Porzingis and his minutes, I don't see how you can responsibly play Porzingis more than 25 minutes. I mean, I think that the goal would be 20. The goal would be 20 minutes. A game, and depending on how he looks, if he's got it going, checking in with him, hopefully he can be honest. You don't want to ruin your career, for the finals, as sacred as the finals are. But I think in no situation should he play more than 25 minutes. But remember too, I mean, like the Celtics haven't played, even without being battle tested, they haven't played with Porzingis in the playoffs. I mean, that's going to be a major change. Horford now, I would assume Horford is going to come off the bench, likely. Can he make that kind of adjustment? I mean, 17 seasons in, can he suddenly do that?
Well, he always likes to hang out by that 3-point line.
Yeah, he does. He does. Well, he does shoot the three. Shoot the three. He's not going to give you any, low post offense. And honestly, he's not that good of a defender. He will rebound for you. He will rebound, but he's no Rick Mahorn, down in that low post, giving defense. One more thing, reflecting back on the postseason. I feel like the Knicks injury, if the Knicks did not have all those injuries, they would have beaten Indiana. I mean, as it was, they took them 7 games. They should have beat
Indiana, yeah.
They should have beat Indiana, but certainly if that squad was at full strength and they didn't have all their injuries, I feel like they would have beaten Indiana. And like the commentators say, they would have had a puncher's chance against Boston. I mean, I think they could have possibly upset them. I mean, they lost games, the first 2 rounds to lesser teams on their home floor. So, I mean, they have really
anybody in mind that you would like to realistically see the New York Knicks get here when we got free agency here in about 6 weeks or so?
Yeah, we do have free agency. I've thought a little bit. Well, I've actually thought about a trade. I mean, they still have Brogdon, who before coming to the Knicks was good for 20 points a game. Julius Randle. They they need somebody that thinks pass first, score second, so they don't disrupt Brunson. But that's
Okay.
somebody who can be a second or third scorer. Maybe it's crazy, but I know I would think I would try to shop Randall Brogdon in a number one. I might tempt the Lakers. I might say, hey, you want to part with you want these guys? You want to give us LeBron? I mean, he's got maybe
they need some size there.
Yeah,
somebody that can deal with Thibodeau's hard coaching.
Yeah, that's true. Look, I mean, maybe you also add Mitchell and give up maybe 2 draft picks, Mitchell and Brogdon and Randall. Maybe you try to do a blockbuster. Would it be crazy to try to bring in AD and LeBron,
or just AD,
or even right? But AD, but I mean, AD could work. I mean, he's certainly a good number 2 scorer. He gives them he does give them a second scorer. He would be nice. He would certainly be nice for the Knicks.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned LeBron and this email you sent me. This it's something I've been thinking about as well. You mentioned Bronny. Yeah. What about the reports now? JJ Redick, after the finals, is favored to be the Lakers head coach. He does a podcast with LeBron. LeBron's got a lot of respect for the 39-year-old former Duke player there. What do you think about JJ Redick being the coach there, likely there to keep LeBron there? Well, first of all, what do you think about him? No coaching experience whatsoever.
Redick, right, he has no coaching experience whatsoever. I mean, at the same time, I do think that the Lakers need a new head coach. I mean, looking back, I still say, despite being underdogs, the way that series unfolded, they really should have beaten Denver, considering how the games were and coughing up all those leads. Yeah. And look, basically the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers head coach never made an adjustment so that the Lakers could deal with the zone. It was just a zone defense. When you get around one defender, another big guy was rotating over, and he couldn't think to make an adjustment. Like, look, if your man rotates over, if you got a jump shot, then you got to spread out so you're getting a wider, or you go to another place on the floor onto the basket so somebody can hit you with like a wraparound and a dunk, that type of thing. But or even curl to the foul line. So once I dribble into the double team, I'm going to turn around and hit you with a chest pass. And you catch and shoot in motion from the foul line. I mean, that's not that hard to do. But he never made the adjustment, and that zone just befuddled them. So I think they need a new head coach. Certainly, LeBron, having the relationship with him, that definitely would be a move to try to keep LeBron a Laker. I don't think they can keep. It doesn't make sense to run that roster back. They do need to add somebody to it. I mean, I do feel like I do feel like they're one player away.
Yeah. I've heard about maybe Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell. LeBron said he'd like to have Kyrie back. So go figure. Right, but
that's not. I'm sure he would, but that's not gonna work. I don't.
Yeah.
Well. See, I don't know that Donovan Mitchell could coexist with LeBron, though. I mean, remember the failed experiment with
Westbrook.
With Westbrook,
Mitchell is Westbrook. I wouldn't want to do that either. No,
Westbrook, but I feel like Donovan Mitchell is Westbrook times 3. He's going to be ball dominant. He's a scorer.
I know.
He's not coming there to be a playmaker. You notice
that's why I said the Knicks do not need to get Mitchell.
No, they do not. No, the Knicks do not need to get Mitchell. You notice how D'Angelo Russell was a much better point guard fit with LeBron than Westbrook, even though he's not a better player than him.
Yeah, Trae Young is a good spot up shooter. I mean, they could possibly go.
He could work. Yeah, Trae Young. Trae Young
in his prime too, man.
Exactly. It's true. I mean, I think you would give up D'Angelo Russell, but the issue is. Who else would you give up, though? Who else are you going to – who do they have to trade? I mean, they have just enough players to give somebody a fit in the first round.
I take Austin Reeves.
But not advance. but not advance,
Yeah.
who would you actually give up? That's the issue.
Yeah, that's true. Now, Bronny James,
Yeah.
do you think that LeBron is being a little selfish, knowing that Bronny probably should have stayed in college? He only averaged 5 points at USC. I think they moved off their coach, so maybe he could have transferred. What do you think about the idea of them drafting Bronny just to play with his dad?
Well, if you look, I think that the move only makes sense if you feel if you're in a let's win now one piece away.
Yeah.
It only makes sense to do that. I mean, look, he's not. I don't believe he's an NBA caliber player.
Yeah.
There's a reason why LeBron is leveraging like that. I think this is the only way that he can get drafted, but I think it's going to work. And look, I mean, LeBron has given a lot to the fans, Yeah. So if he wants to play with his son, I mean, going back to baseball for a second, I mean, does anybody really think that the Mariners brought, Ken Griffey Sr. onto the team because he could still play?
The other way around,
really so it would be.
I thought about that analogy too, actually. Yeah.
That would be. It would be a cool thing. I mean, I think he did. Look, I think at this point he probably should be a little bit selfish. And you want to play with your son, you've got the leverage to do it. I don't know anyone else that wouldn't do it. It's. Not many people have a son that can play basketball. They're even on that level.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even. Well, who else could even demand something like that? I mean, if he had a son that was playing, I mean, maybe Steph Curry, maybe.
Right.
Jordan
I think, in like 96, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, well, right. But as far as current era players, I mean, I don't even think that would work if Kevin Durant tried to pull that.
that is true. I mean, and the Lakers, part of me thinks, Jeffrey, I mean, this is going to be their third coach. I think maybe Jenny should perhaps think about selling the team. I mean, they're a little bit club chaos.
Yeah, they are.
If you really think about it.
Yeah, that's true. It is club chaos. I mean, she should think about it. But I mean, on the other hand, from a financial point of view, I mean, owning an NBA franchise is a
pretty good
hell of an investment. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
They're going to have games on Peacock, by the way. Pickles.
Yeah,
Pickles
Peacock
hates these streaming services.
Pickles correctly points out that Trae Young would fit with the Lakers. Yeah, they absolutely would. But look, what she could do is, I mean, she could bring in a new. She could bring in a new, manager of basketball operations, or maybe it's time to either cut Rob Pelinka, cut ties with him, or maybe have him in a lesser role. I mean, kind of look at Philadelphia. I mean, they got Elton Brand, they got Daryl Morey, but they also have Elton Brand as well. So if not, get rid of it. They need to get things under control a little bit. It would be a throwback back to the old time baseball games, even predating you, Rob. The player coach. That reminds me
of Russell.
Right. Pickles mentioned player coach.
People are talking. I think it's going to be Redick, though. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Redick.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Redick. I mean, look, I like experience. At the same time, if the only thing we ever do is hire people with experience, I mean, we're just going to keep recycling the same people over and over again.
Because it's such a players' league. It's almost.
Can you give somebody? Yeah, I mean, I there's part of me that likes the idea. Let's give somebody new. Let's give somebody new a chance. I think that players would sometimes players respond more to coaches that used to be players themselves. I think there's some of that, with Doc Rivers in terms of, when they were doing good with Boston. I mean, not with Philly. It didn't work. He should have been fired. I called that he was going to be fired on Philly.
Yeah, good call, man. We're at 49 minutes. I got to get your finals breakdown and prediction, buddy.
Absolutely. So, all right, look, let's go position by position. You tell me the players, the matchups. I'll tell you who I think's got the edge and why. And of course,
okay, yeah, I've got the depth chart right here. I mean,
all right.
Let's see. Okay, Luka Doncic, he's listed as a point versus Drew Holiday. If Holiday's going to take him, do you think Jason Tatum?
That's edge. Look. Holiday has got a great combination of scoring and defense. He's a defense first, but still can give you 16 to 18. Really good two-way player. But look at who he's playing against. He's playing against the best player in the series. Edge, Mavericks, big.
Yeah. Okay. Kyrie Irving, shooting guard. Derek White, very athletic, underrated. I love this breakout season for Derek White.
Listen, consummate defensive player, again, defensive specialist.
Yeah.
But he's playing against the second best player in the series. Edge, Mavericks, big time. Keep in mind, too, for all the defensive prowess, the Mavericks backcourt is averaging 72 points per game going in. They're going 20. Well, no, I think they're 20.
It's hard for me to disagree with you. Now, Kyrie's defense has even gotten better. He's been beating his Wheaties, man.
Hell, they even got Luka. Of all people. They even got Luka playing a little bit of defense.
He's 77.
He blocked a couple of shots against Minnesota. He
what do you think about that crazy jersey number of Luka? He's got a football. He's a great big old guy, and he fits perfect for that jersey.
Right. All right.
Derek Jones Jr. for Dallas versus now that's Jaylen Brown. I guess you'll probably go with Jaylen there, right?
I absolutely would go with Jones is a nice role player. Jaylen Brown is one of the two stars for Boston. So Edge, Celtics, Celtics big.
PJ Washington, Jason Tatum.
PJ Washington played out of his mind this whole playoffs, canning 5, 6, 7 threes a game. To see that guy open, it's the closest thing to an automatic three. He hustles, he plays defense, but he's going against Jason Tatum. Tatum is one of the 50 best. In my opinion, Tatum is one of the 50 best players. If you take that survey now, the same could not be said for PJ Washington. So Edge Celtics.
Okay. They got Gafford listed as the starter. I'm saying Lively is the guy even though he's just a rookie for Dallas. Right. Derek Lively versus we don't know Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, well, if he we got to do it versus Porzingis, right? Because he's gonna. So Lively. So let's say Lively versus Porzingis. I mean, if Porzingis was healthy, obviously Porzingis, right?
Okay.
Lively give you maybe like 10, 12 points, maybe 7 to 12 rebounds. He's gonna alter some shots. He's definitely gonna hustle. He's probably the closest to like a Rodman, Ben Wallace in the current era. But Porzingis, can give you 18 to 20 a game. He's an all-star. Lively's not close to being an all-star.
But he's playing great, though.
Lively is playing extremely well. He kind of reminds me of Hartenstein a little bit.
Who?
But Porzingis, again, the hurt 2020. I mean, I kind of feel like this matchup is even, only because Porzingis is not. You don't know what we're going to get. Yeah. The backups, thinking about the backup big man, let's bring in Gafford now.
Yeah, Gafford versus Al Horford.
Listen, again, Gafford is a physical. He's going to rebound. He's going to block shots. He's tough in a way that Horford's not. Horford is a finesse big man who's going to camp out at the three-point line and shoot jump shots. He'll give you a few rebounds, but he's not going to, he's probably not going to give you double digits. Nobody is worried about Al Horford blocking a shot, so he doesn't gum up the middle. I would rather have Gafford. I mean, Gafford is young. He's got much more energy. Horford towards the end of his career, 17 seasons in. I have to say Gafford. I would rather have Gafford, so I give the edge to Gafford. The Mavericks, they got Tim Hardaway Jr.
You got Hardaway Jr. and then of course Boston's got oh my God,
anybody worth
Sam Hustler does no name defense, guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have to say bench edge definitely goes to Dallas. Let's do head coaches. Let's do head coaches now. So we got Jason Kidd.
I like Jason. I like Jason Kidd over Mazzulla. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, Kidd. I think Kidd caught a ring with the Mavericks as a. I think didn't he catch a ring with the Mavericks
as a player? I think later on. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. I mean, look, he got his team to the Western Conference Finals, 2 out of 3 years. Now he's got him the NBA Finals. He was Mr. Triple Double. I think he has a lot to do with how Kyrie is gelled now.
Yeah.
Now Mazzulla, on the other hand, but look, Mazzulla's no slouch. I mean, he's in his second finals.
They got home court advantage. And
well, the home court advantage certainly. Boston has it, but at the same time, I mean, Dallas won a lot of. Dallas played without the home court versus the Clippers. They won games in LA. They won games.
Right.
They won 2 games.
Only 3 games above 500 at home.
Yeah, they played
in the playoffs.
They won games versus OKC. They won several of them. They won games, and look, they won 3 games in Minnesota. So I don't think that playing on the road is going to rattle Boston at all. Rattle Dallas at all. I mean, hopefully the stage is not too big for a lot of the other players, but it hasn't been so far. So yeah, Boston has the home court, but then again, Boston has lost. Boston are road warriors also, but they're kind of weak at home. They've only played 500 ball the last few seasons at home. So, I think Kidd over Mazzulla. So in terms of predictions, when I add it all up, when I chunk it all up, I like Dallas in 6.
That's me. We're gonna go down together, Jeffrey.
Yes, we are.
Dallas and 6. I mean, Dallas was huge. You got to give the management. I forgot this guy's name. Picking up PJ Washington at the trade deadline.
Didn't get Gafford that way off. Didn't get Gafford. That's the difference between this year and last year's Mavericks, which as you know, didn't even make the playoffs after dropping 5 games to the Warriors.
And then they drafted Lively.
Yeah, that was a good move as well. They did.
Yeah, for this time last year, you got to think about it. They drafted Luke. Go back to last year when they traded for Kyrie, which I thought was a little crazy, but it turned out to be a good fit. You added Lively in the draft, and then they made this year. PJ Washington's been huge. He was real big.
Oh, they would not have. I don't think that they would have beaten either OKC or Minnesota without PJ Washington.
Yeah.
It would have been very, very tough to even do it without Gafford. I mean, the type of production that the Mavericks have gotten out of Gafford and Lively. I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of like baseball in a way, right? I mean, they kind of platoon the center position, and they give Dallas about 20 a game.
Yeah,
between the
picking
two
up those good relief pitchers.
Yes, they did. About 15, 16 rebounds. Sometimes could get to 20.
Man,
I think that any of the other teams out west. I think if it would have been Denver, I think if it would have been OKC, I think that they probably would have beaten Boston too.
Yeah.
So I feel like the teams that Dallas beat along the way, that they would have beaten Boston. I mean, look, Boston's got a really nice team. They are set up for the future, but this kind of reminds me of when they were going against the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah,
a couple of years ago. I mean, they were going up against a better team. They had Clay and Steph at that point were certainly better than Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And this kind of reminds me of the same thing. You know what they remind me of? They kind of remind me of the Miami Heat. Making the finals last couple, several times, but going forward.
Are they going to be the Buffalo Bills if they lose another finals? Where they lost 4 straight Super Bowls.
Right. No, I know. I understand I know the reference. I unfortunately know well the reference there. Scott Norwood's kick.
Yeah.
It's
still kind of young.
It's still kind of young. It's not the same as going to 4 straight finals. That's what made it so bad. I mean, this is kind of at least spread out, but
Yeah.
You know, if they come up short, you know, in closing, you have to think though. You know, you lost the finals one year. You lost game 7 at home in the Eastern Conference Finals next year. You then lose in the finals again. I mean, are you really getting enough return on what your roster is? Are you underachieving? I mean, you know, I guess they would need maybe half a player. Maybe
what it feels like.
Maybe they need half a player and a healthy Porzingis. But you know,
that's true.
That all has to happen in the offseason, and unfortunately, the finals are still for them. The finals are starting tomorrow.
24 hours. Do you need anything to plug? I'm running a little bit behind, but what you working on? Anything big?
Yeah, so there's a couple of cases that we're working on. I mean, we've and not to get overly technical, we found some significant pieces of material in the course of reinvestigating a case in collaboration with the district attorney's office that wishes to remain unnamed at this point. But we found some significant things that should have been turned over to the defense that likely could have, you know, made the difference, you know, in the trial. So I feel like at this point, you know, we're just trying to build a boat to add more to support. But I think that I feel like we're good. But then also, lastly, I want to quickly mention, you know, what I want to plug is that our gala was successful. We were able to net $27,000. So, you know, not exactly setting the world on fire, but much better than netting 12. One of our donors, Mr. Rick Shaper, when I shout him out, so he generously offered. He said that in the course of June. He offered to do matching funds from any money we could raise. He offered to match up to $5,000 in June. He offered that in May. We were able to do that. So if you're out there, if you're listening, if you think it's worth sacrificing $3 to $5 a month on a consistent monthly basis, you know, there's our Patreon campaign. You can go to our foundation. There's our PayPal. There's our Patreon link. Think about, you know, donating to us so we can free for more wrongfully convicted people. If you can donate a little bit more, that would be great. I want to get the matching funds, you know, to be able, so we can work on freeing even more people than we are.
All right. Hey, man, if something comes up with the Knicks free agency, a big trade, you got my email.
A big trade, I'll let you know, and maybe we'll do a post NBA Finals recap.
Hey, that something big could happen there. Maybe Boston, they're favored. Maybe they can win, you know? I'd kind of like to see Boston win. I don't care for Kyrie, but I like Luka too, though, you know? I like Jason.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I understand what you mean. So Porzingis versus his old team, Kyrie versus his old team.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Forgot about that. Yeah.
But again, Kyrie's healthy and Porzingis is not. So once again, the equity going towards Dallas. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for having me on.
All right, buddy. Show. Enjoy the finals. I know I will.
Thank you. Me too.
All right.